really special treat. Something really cool. Colored bass strings. Ooh, these are special. Story time. So this was 2012, I think it was. I was at the NAMM show in Anaheim in January, wandering around, doing my thing, and I'm looking around, I come across a fella, and I recognize him from when I lived in Colorado, when I lived in Loveland, Colorado, back in 2005 or 4. And I see this guy, and I think it's him, so I call out his name, and I'm like, hey. And yeah, sure enough, it's the guy. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm working for this new company. I'm like, oh, what you got going on here? He's like, I got these strings. They're all these wacky colors. And sure enough, yeah, they're the strings. This company, they're called Aurora strings. Not to be confused with Aurora, Colorado. They're actually made in Connecticut. Bridgeport, Connecticut. So, he says, yeah, with this company, we're making these strings. And I'm like, sweet, hey, I'm like, hey, it's the NAMM show. I'm like, hey, you got some swag? Can I get some strings? And he's like, nah. Well, I got some strings. Yeah, I got some strings. Yeah, I'll give you some strings. Gives me this set of strings, and he gives me the worst gauge you can ever imagine. Like a gauge no bass player would ever play unless they had some like weird short scale bass they were going to give to a toddler. Weird gauge. And I tell him, I'm like, dude, nah, I don't want these, man. I'll never play these. Like, I've been to the NAMM show before. I've gotten free strings, some swag strings. They're always in weird gauges. The ones they give you are terrible. They're like awful. They're like the gauges that they can't sell because nobody wants these bizarre gauges. So I tell him straight up, I'm like, yo, I'm not going to play these. Give me a good set. He's like, we're not really handing out the good sets, man. I'm like, come on. Want me to try the strings? Give me a gauge I'll use. He's like, all right. What gauge do you want? I'm like, yeah, I tell him the gauge. He's like, what color do you want? I tell him, green. I want green. He's like, all right. So he gives me a set of green strings, 45, 65, 85, 105. Sweet. I take them home. I don't really do anything. I keep them around. I wait. I wait my turn. I wait for when I really need a new set of strings. Then a few months go by. Actually, I think it was like a year went by, and I didn't put them on yet. I had them. I was going to use them, and a whole year went by. And finally, I had this recording at Bubble Studios in Austin, Texas, with Frenchie Smith. Pretty cool studio if you've ever been there. And look at this. I got gold. So we're recording, and I know I got to get some good strings on there. So, I ordered a set of DR high beams or sunbeams. Yeah, I got some sunbeams, and they're good strings. They're great strings. I've played them a couple times before, but all right. They're nothing really crazy to write home about. And then halfway through the recording, I really wanted bright strings on every single song. So, halfway through the recording session, I changed strings to these Aurora strings that were green. Man, they just stayed bright. They just didn't go bad. It just sounded great through the whole recording session. They just sounded fantastic. So I've really admired them. And I had them on this bass, my Fender Jazz bass, my reddish Fender Jazz bass, for a long time. And for a long time, I was known as the guy with the gold strings. And had to get my trimmer. I like to trim my strings a certain way. I like my E and my A strings to be really, 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 really low. I like to wind them a lot of times, so that way they are really, really close to the nut. That way they wind as far down to the nut as possible. And the trick that I use is I put the palm of my wrist on the tuner, and then I trim it at where my middle finger ends. Okay? And that's my trick. This works for Fender style tuners. This doesn't work for tuners that are on like an Ibanez or the smaller style tuners. For that, I actually use my knuckle. This kind of similar part of my hand I'll use where my knuckle bends on my hand and cut the string at the end of my fingertip. But for Fender style tuners, I use my palm. Put my palm on top of the tuner, head like that, and then measure from the tuner to the string and cut where my fingertip would end. That's just my method. You know, I don't know exactly how long my finger is, but that's just how I've always done it, because it winds a lot of times for the E and the A string. Man, look at that. Gold string. See if I can zoom in on that puppy. Whew. Gold. It's golden, baby. It's golden. So anyway, where was I? For a while there, I was known as the guy with the gold strings. And man, they sounded really good. At the time, I was playing a lot of jazz music, so didn't really need to have like crazy bright sounding strings all the time. A lot of the things I were doing were just jazz jams, simple jazz gigs, playing standards, not really doing anything too serious. So yeah, kept them on for a really long time. Eventually I needed to record again, and they came off. When they came off, I donated them to a school that I went to that had a Squire bass that had completely dead stainless steel or nickel strings. And I just, slapped them out a whole bunch and put them on there. And, kids were happy. They had some really cool looking strings that rocked and rolled, and I was happy because I had a new set of strings. So I'm not saying that this is how you should string your strings, but this is how I string my strings. For my E string, it's wound many, many times around, so that it has a lot of tensions there. See that angle from the nut? That's what I'm looking for. And that's just how I do mine. So interesting thing about the Aurora strings is they put the low string, the E string, in clear packaging that they put in front of the package so you can see how the string is colored. The rest of them are in your regular paper containers like you'd normally see. Yeah. Why don't you guys tell me in the comment section how you wind your strings? Is there like a special technique or ritual that you do that you just do it with? Something that makes it special or makes it unique? Or yeah. Is there somebody that told you to do a certain way? Another way that I'll do with strings, if they're not like some coated strings that I know I'm probably going to change, like if they're just regular nickel strings or stainless steel or some swag strings, I'll just spin them around. You know what I mean? I'll put it in a hole and then just twist it around until it gets good enough. Then I'll make sure it's not spun around at the ball of the string, and then just tune it up. But these are some grade A premium strings. Yeah, here's my measurement again. The A string is a little bit further back. Put the heel, and the A string is about, it's at the end of my finger. It's a little bit longer. I'm not gonna bother cutting it. It's long enough. Make sure that we got all the string. Yep. Repeat the process. Put it in there, give it a little bend. Yeah, like I said, these are strings I'm going to have on my bass for quite a long time. This is a bass I don't play very often. I'm going to use this bass to record. It's a Fender P bass. It's a little hybrid. It's kind of a weird bass. I got this bass for $200 on Craigslist. It's kind of a Franken bass. It has a Mexican Fender neck from, MZ1. I believe that's 2001. It's a little beat up, and I think it has like a cigarette burn on it, but it's not too bad. There's no really big bad dents or anything in the back of the neck, so it suits this purpose. The other thing is it has American tuners on it, and this bass also has an American body and American pickups, but it also has two small knobs, like not regular style knobs. Like it looks like the knobs that came off like a micro Korg or something. So it's kind of a weird bass. It has an American style bridge. Yeah, it's not bad. It's mostly, it's probably 65% American P bass, and for $200 on Craigslist, I think I got a deal. So I like this bass to record with. It's good to record. It's fun. It's actually, I do kind of play, I take that back. I do play this bass a lot. I play this bass to practice on a lot. One of the reasons why this bass was so cheap is because somebody had to redo the nut on this, and they screwed it up bad. This nut is pretty much all glue. It's just a bunch of glue. This nut is never coming out of there. If I ever want to change the nut on this bass, I'm going to have to very carefully chisel the nut out. It's not very pretty. But it was also not set up very well when I bought it. So I had to actually buy files and learn to do this myself. I took it to a guy in town to do it, and he did a terrible job. So I ended up just buying the files to file the nut slots myself, teaching myself how to do it. Yeah. Ooh, baby, that's what I like. All right, now that has a lot of whine, so it is as far down as it can. So there is as much space, there's as much of an angle between the tuner, or the end of the string, and where it meets the nut. Same thing with the E string here. There's a lot of, yeah, it's just perfect. A lot of whines. Now the D and the G string, they won't get as many whines, and you don't need to whine them as much because they have a string tree to do the job for you. I would like to mention that Aurora doesn't even know who I am. I bought these strings from them, so they sent them to my house, but I bought them. They don't know I'm making this video. They're probably never even gonna see this video. I doubt they care. Hey, if I can get more than 50 subscribers, I'll be happy. But you know, something about these strings, they're like infused with silver or something, like actual silver, and then they put like a protective color coating over them. It's kind of interesting. They come in like a whole array of colors, from like gold and clear coat, white. You can get them in orange, blue, green, I don't know, a whole array of colors. But I saw they had gold. I thought gold is really, really cool because, you know, I think Diodario makes colored strings. They've got like some, you know, red, blue, orange, green, whatever. DR makes some colored strings, similar thing. They come in like orange, blue, green. They have like a multicolor set. I have also ordered a multicolored DR set too, that I'll probably put on a different bass. But yeah, none of them make a gold string. This is the only company that makes a gold string, which is really interesting. And it does seem kind of tacky, gold, but I was like, hey, whatever. They're pretty cool. I like them. I think gold looks really cool. Here's a good question. What do you guys do with old strings? These are the old strings. I don't know what to do with them. I just, you know, sometimes you keep them and then they just end up in a closet where they stay there forever, and then you just eventually throw them away. You think, oh, maybe what if I can boil these, boil them, but then you never do, and you just end up throwing away. Is there a way to like recycle them? I mean, these are like steel or nickel or something, and then they have the cobalt strings. Are they really cobalt? Cobalt's very expensive metal. They need those to make batteries and stuff. Cobalt's like mined out of like, you know, mines in Africa and stuff. What do you do with your dead strings? I think Diodario might have a program where you can send in their old strings, but I don't know anything about it. Leave a comment down there in the comment section. Let me know what to do with old strings. Here's what you do with old strings. You just twist them, right? You just twist them up into a twist. Yeah. Number one rule to keeping your strings sounding fresh is wash your hands before you play every time. Even if you think your hands are clean, they're not. Just getting any kind of dirt, grime, oil, grease, whatever on your hands, dead skin, anything off your hands before you play keeps your strings sounding fresh longer. What makes strings dead is you get oil, grime, grease, face skin, sweat, whatever, gets in between those little whines in the string. And then it loses its overtone series. There's several little high-end frequencies that are lost after a little while. There's some tricks you can do to regain them, but yeah, just not playing without the amp, just... You can just hear there's so many frequencies coming out of this thing. Alrighty. Oh yeah, man. Oh. That's a P bass, baby. Playing out of a Fender Rumble 40. frequency's flat, no EQ, no nothing. And it's just going into the P bass, into a Polytune Thrace with the buffer on, into that amp. The Fender Rumble 40, baby. Tone's all the way up, everything's all the way up. Here's tone down. Maybe even hearing the just the strings themselves from the microphone. Woo, man. So, in conclusion, strings, they're yellowish looking. They're gold strings. They're colored and they're coated, but I don't think they're as obnoxious looking as, say, like bright green strings. For example, I've got a set of bright green strings. I don't think they're not as obnoxious, the gold versus, say, something like green or blue or some sort of neon bright color. You almost can't tell that they're gold. Like, compare this to, say, these just regular strings on this jazz bass. Yeah, you can tell that they're gold, but from a distance, they just look metallic. So, I don't know. But we're not just in it for the color. The coating, it helps keep the strings lasting longer. Also, I've noticed that as I get older, I think I might be kind of mildly allergic to nickel. So I notice that sometimes when I play my bass, my face tends to break out a lot if I practice my bass a lot. So I'm trying to switch to coated strings because I might kind of have a mild nickel allergy, especially if a set of strings has been sitting in a pack for a while. I had a set of bass strings that was sitting in a pack for like 2-3 years. When I took them out, anytime I play, I get bad oxidation stains on my right hand, my right fingers that I would use to pluck. And you don't get that with coated strings. They can sit in the pack much longer without oxidizing or whatever, getting that nasty, metallic grossness on your fingers. That's the real reason I want to switch. Yeah, companies like Elixir and Clear Tone, they say, oh, well, they last longer and they stay brighter and they're therefore saving you money. My real reason for switching is because, I might have a mild nickel allergy. I always like the nickel strings over the stainless steel ones because I found while they weren't as bright out of the package, they stayed brighter longer. So they weren't as bright out of the package, but they had a little bit more longevity. And I didn't need strings that were super crazy bright to begin with, which I always felt stainless steel strings were just really bright and sounded awesome at first. And then for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they just took a nosedive and just went dead really fast. And they also chew up frets really bad too, which might be another nice thing with the nickel strings. They might not chew up the frets so badly. So we'll see. Time will only tell. That, you can hear that overtones in that note there. Yeah. That sounds nice. Yeah. Anyway. That's it for me today. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section if you disagree with any of the things I said or have any information. How do you change your strings? Do you have a weird system or thing that you do to get your strings to set nicely on the nut? What do you do? What's your style? What kind of strings do you use? Have you ever used Aurora strings? What was your experience with this company? I've only used them once, and honestly, I think they were kind of expensive. I think after shipping, it was like $40-something. So they were kind of expensive as far as bass strings go. I could have gotten a colored set from Sweetwater, a DR colored set for I think $27 for the same set of gauges. But they don't have this cool silver coating or whatever that's underneath the coating that makes them, I guess, even brighter and last longer or whatever. And, I'm paying for actual silver, which is maybe another reason to recycle these strings, or at least maybe try to cash them in. There's actual silver in the strings. So, anyway, That's it for today.